Good morning, Illini. Welcome back. I'm your host, Matt Schrock, here for another Healthy Illini podcast. And we have moved past the Thanksgiving break, and finals are right around the corner, and the weather has finally turned into winter here in Illinois. We had what seemed like a very late summer, but then all of a sudden it shifted. And with all of that, we're getting into finals prep, and that's what we're going to talk about today. I have some students with us, and I'm excited to jump into this conversation. I have 3 students today who are going to join with us and share their perspectives on finals prep and what works for them and what didn't work and things like that. But I want to introduce them first right off. First up is Ep93. She is a senior here at UIUC with a major in community health with health admin and planning concentration. Alex, thanks for being here.
Mm-hmm. Hi.
I'm also joined by a sophomore, Madison Fanning. And Madison is majoring in bioengineering and chemistry. Madison, I appreciate you being here. And rounding out our trio is a grad student, Malik Doshi, and he is getting his master's in finance. Malik, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So, if you talk to any college student, it doesn't matter what campus it is, finals week is a major life event every semester. Everything focuses towards finals week. And when it comes, there's a lot of energy that goes into that, a lot of focus, a lot of time, things like that. And we've done a few finals prep episodes in the past, and we talked about resources here on campus, specifically for University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, and they're all wonderful. And if you get a chance, go back and listen to those episodes. You can find them every December and April, basically. But those resources are still there. But while we've talked about resources before and some general tips on how to utilize those resources, I wanted to kind of take a different focus today. And that is, I invited you each here to kind of share what works for you. And that's important to note that it's for you, because we talk a lot at Healthy Illini about everyone's on a personal journey, and it's a unique journey, and that's true. And so you are each on a unique journey, but there's some commonalities. But I wanted to give a chance to have you kind of share and highlight the things that you've learned in your prep, because you've all gone through semesters before, some more than others, but things that have worked for you when you are getting ready for those finals. So let's just start there with a very general question. But when in the weeks as we're heading into finals, what does preparing mean for each of you?
So what I actually learned in my undergrad was that I used to make this long plans of completing this much of the syllabus up to this particular time, and then getting that timetable strictly followed. But what exactly used to happen is that I am a moody person, and there are times that I just wake up and I don't feel like doing cons. I feel like reading something, or just sometimes when I've scheduled for reading, I'd feel like doing sums. So what I've learned after a point of time is that for me, the schedules don't work. What I can actually do is have like plan A, plan B, plan C up to a particular date. That 5 days I need to finish these 2 courses. Rest 5 days I need to do this much. So I know I have to complete that much, and I can keep playing around with it. If I'm not feeling good, or if I'm not feeling like, I need to do a lot of practice, I could just keep on reading. So that way I keep it more flexible. It keeps me calm.
I'm glad you started with that, because planning ahead was something all 3 of you mentioned, and you all 3 mentioned it in different ways. There were very unique and specific aspects to planning. So Madison, Alex, if you would chime in a little bit, what does planning ahead mean for both of you when it comes to finals?
For me, planning ahead is actually planning out each day, like day by day, but also not just focusing on the schoolwork, but also if I want to have like a secret Santa with my friends before final or something like that, having all of that planned out, so then I know what works for me to study and for when I should like complete the study guide or things like that.
See, I think I'm more with Malik of, I also don't like to do like a set schedule of what I have to do. I also do like these are the things I have to do, and I can just pick one from what I know I have to do. I think that works a lot better than, I'm also an avoidant of, I have to read, I don't feel like doing that when I wake up today. I will say one thing that I like to do is setting myself up for each class, like what my goal is. Like I like to look back at what my current grade is, what is the final worth, how much, like what's my overall goal? Like that's an individual choice you have to make. Like, are you aiming for an A, an A-, a B, a C? That's what you can make. Nobody else can make that decision for you. But I like to like set it out of, okay, this is the grade I would like to get, so this is what I need to get there. So I know like what I'm aiming for, how much time I need to dedicate to maybe this class and maybe a little less to this class, kind of balance that out.
Would it be fair to say then that for each of you, that the common theme is you have a goal and you're setting that goal, just the way you find that goal is different? Because it sounds like, Alex, you like to have it almost minute by minute, what you have in your day. Is that correct?
Not necessarily minute by minute, just kind of like time blocks of when I would do things. I wouldn't say I necessarily plan out, I'm going to like read this chapter then and there, but I'll put like, for these 3 hours, I'm going to study. And then I kind of figure out what I'd like to do during that session when I get to where I want to go, or if I'm going to study in my room. But I'd say it's like time blocked, but not necessarily like exactly what I'm going to be doing minute by minute.
And that flexibility is key for each of you. You talked about it, because we all know that it doesn't matter if you're doing finals, you're doing just your week goal, your meal plan, whatever it may be, you're going to have moments where it's going to fall apart. And sometimes more often than not. I'm a planner. When I come in, if you look at my calendar here at work, I've got pretty much hour blocks of everything. And out of those 7-hour blocks, 3 of them are probably going to get moved every day. And I know that. And that's okay for me. For some people, that would not be good. And so, it's really good to find out what you work. And so, like I said earlier, that everybody's journey is unique, and you've kind of already shown that your journeys are unique. So now I want to ask you, what are some tips for you, like some things you've learned for you that work, that help you study best? Not just in planning it, but what are the little things you need? Do you need note cards? Do you need a certain location? Do you need music? Do you need silence? These kinds of things. What things work for you best that you're able to study and retain the knowledge?
I would say for me, I straight away try to find like all past exams, like homework assignments. Like I like to collect all of that and like the syllabus, look back through like what all the content was to figure out where like my gaps in knowledge are. I think it's important to go back through everything you've learned and be honest with yourself of, do I actually understand how to do this? Do I actually know this? Or am I just lying to myself saying, I'll figure it out if it comes up on the exam? Because I think sometimes I like to cheat myself a little bit and be like, it probably won't come up. And I think that's what always comes up. So I think it's really important to go back through like all the content slowly and make sure you really have it down.
I'd say for me, the biggest part is getting out of like my normal routine. I feel like day by day, I normally do homework in my room or like a library close to me, but I kind of like changing where I go, even if it's at the same library, if it's the main library, I like going on a different floor or something, because it kind of sets my tone for, this is different. There's a normal homework assignment. I need to focus. And also for me, more of my classes are more applicable material, like applied scenarios. So it's kind of like hard to like look at course content. So I think getting out of my normal routine helps me kind of focus more and have a deeper understanding.
For me, writing really helps. What I've realized is whenever I go and audit stuff or just read through stuff and then go for the examination, I forget or I may make silly mistakes or something or the other keeps happening. So I think writing and practicing really helps, jotting down points when I'm actually reading something longer or summarizing it after studying. And secondly, what Alex mentioned, changing the locations. I keep doing that as well, because what happens if I keep going to the same location is I start feeling like home. And then that comfort level sets in, familiar faces sets in, and then eventually that entire focus that I need doesn't stay. So I keep moving on to different libraries and different study areas too.
One of the other things I was curious of for all of you is, do you prefer to do, especially not necessarily semester work, because that's something slightly different, but for finals prep, do you prefer to do individual, or do you prefer to have a study group, or kind of a mix of the two? I kind of threw this one at you real quick. I'll let you think for it, because, for some people, a group is good. You bounce ideas off. Some feel pressure when they're with a group to perform at the level of the group, and that can be a whole nother level of anxiety. So I was just curious how it felt for the three of you specifically, and not necessarily that you're speaking for anybody else, just for yourselves, what works best for you.
I would say personally, it depends. It really depends on the class and the content and what you're trying to get out of it. I will say so far the finals that I've had to study the most for, it's been more helpful to like study in a group. I also learn a lot by almost like being able to explain it to someone else, practicing like, this is what I would do, because that shows that you understand it. So oftentimes being with someone else or another group, even sometimes if they're not even in the same class, but just to have someone there so I can like pretend that I'm like, if I were to teach this to you, this is what I would say. I like that kind of studying technique, because then that's like, I can prove if I can teach it to someone else that I understand it well enough.
That really ties into what Alex said about writing it down. There's studies that show if you have to say it or you have to recreate it in some way, that really does help. So I'm not surprised that that's an aspect that helps you. How about the other two?
I'd say it's a mix of both for me. I feel like earlier in the kind of finals, I like studying alone so I can kind of understand it more. And then like closer to my final, I like maybe meeting up with people and seeing where we both are lacking, what we can teach each other. I think that really helps, or even just going to a library with a friend. And we don't have to necessarily talk or like study together, but just like being with someone kind of helps, especially if you've been studying alone for a long time already at that point.
Interesting. I think I'm like the opposite. Like, yeah, start with friends and maybe go by myself or to the final.
So you're basically, I had my undergrad in India. So there we wouldn't have a campus town kind of a setup. So meeting people would be like a long traffic, and people live at different longer distances. So solo studying was more of a thing. So I always studied on my own, not in the library setting, more of like going nearby my house or being at my house. At graduate college, I realized that studying together really helps because a lot of times what happens is that I'm doing grunt work. I'm doing a lot of bigger and longer steps to get to an answer or to retain stuff. And if I'm studying with other people, because people are coming from different backgrounds, like I come from law, there are people coming from engineering. We all bring our own talents, and that kind of helps retain stuff faster because it's more of a collaborative learning in the US. So I have realized that maybe the group study is the thing. It's something that is going to work, and I'm going to do it for the next 3 semesters.
There seems to be a theme running through everything we've talked about so far, that while you have an idea, flexibility is key, whether it be your schedule, whether it be how you study each class. There's something to be said. My daughter gets tired of it. She's a freshman in college too. She gets tired of it. She hears me say all the time that the purpose of school is to learn how to learn. And so this is part of it, of learning about yourself, about what you like, things like that. And so I think that's really a huge part of it. And you've kind of illustrated it very, very well, that finding your own path is really important. So the second part of what I want to talk about, because we talked a lot about the academic, the study, the preparing, things like that. But the other side of it that I want to talk about today is something that is the core of what we do at Healthy Illini, and that's health and well-being, and that everything is interrelated, everything is connected, everything is it influences every other aspect. And so one of the pitfalls or traps you can find in preparing for finals is that you take all your energy, all your focus, and put it into the academic, and you just hammer that for a week or two or whatever it may be going into it. But you're still a person, and you're still functioning, and your body is still doing things. And so how have you found what works for you to balance the academic and the physical and the social? And that doesn't stop just because finals week comes. And if you don't focus on that, it can be to your detriment. So what are the things that you really try and do, like especially the week before finals, that you try and do to make sure that you maintain those balances in what you need in order to stay healthy?
I think somewhat controversially, I am not a person that likes to sacrifice my sleep and well-being for finals. Like, I feel like I'm actually in the minority when I say that. I think sometimes I joke that I should probably focus a little bit more on my finals, but I don't see the point. I know I can't function well on little sleep. I know a lot of people are like that, but I think we like to pretend that we'll be fine. And it's like, no, I perform worse when I'm tired. So it's like I'm not benefiting when I'm studying when I'm tired. So I'd rather just say I've done enough for today. I can try more tomorrow and go to sleep rather than just I'll just push through. And it's like I'm not really retaining what I'm learning at that point.
It goes the same for me. Sleeping is very important. Otherwise, I'm going to do a lot of errors, or I keep forgetting stuff. Sleeping is actually, I think even scientifically it's said that it helps you retain a lot and you do stuff more effectively. But it's just that the schedule keeps on, the days keep on reducing, and then you start feeling that you need to overperform. So you sacrifice sleep and whatever easy things that you can do in order to get some of the entertainment inside or some of the studying hours inside. But I think sleep is very important. That goal should be there, that you need to sleep this many hours and you need that rest. Or if you're really getting stuck while studying, go take a nap. Go take a nap and come back, because that's how you're going to perform really well till the exams and not fall sick.
Yeah, I think sleep is a huge thing for me as well. But one thing I do sometimes is if I notice I'm not treating like being self-care enough or do anything like that, I'll wake up 30 minutes earlier or stay like up 30 minutes later and not focus on studying at all, but just doing things that help me. because I don't want to sacrifice my whole sleep schedule, but it's nice to wake up 30 extra minutes and read my book, or like even sit on the couch and talk to my roommate. It makes a huge difference, and I'm not losing that much sleep at the end of the day. So I think if I do have to sacrifice sleep, it's not to study, it's to take care of myself.
Yeah, and I think even talking about, having that 30 minutes to yourself, I'm also the kind of person that I don't like to, some people like to study for hours on end continually, and I know I'm not that kind of person. And I think it's also really important to keep other activities outside of like studying. Like people are like, oh, I don't want to schedule this, or I don't want to do this because I really need to focus on my exams. I'm like, but you cannot study for 12 hours a day. You can't time it. You're productively studying for 12 hours a day. So like, it's not going to be the end of the world if you schedule like an hour or two thing like with your friends, like outside of studying. Like it's going to be, you're going to end up being more productive when you go back to studying because you took a break.
And there's an element of, for me, whether when I was doing finals or just in general, whether at home yard work kind of thing, for me, that 30 minutes or whatever it may be is that mini reward. Like if I've done X, Y, and Z, then I'm going to take a break and I'm going to, watch a show or hang out with my kids and play a video game with my son, whatever. Those kinds of things are nice little rewards that kind of refresh and rejuvenate, because you're right. If you study for 12 hours, if you're not somebody who can do that, and it's rare that somebody can do it productively, giving that little bit of a boost helps you come back to it and go on that. So what are some of those things? If you don't mind me asking, what are those little 30 minutes, like you talked about, get up and read a book or something like that, but what are the things that you really like to have for you that keep you energized? Because for some people, reading a book is great. For some people, reading a book is not what they want to do with their 30 minutes. They would rather study than read a book. Or it may be, going out with friends or watching a movie or crocheting or painting. What are the things that kind of you like to do that help you feel like yourself in the midst of the chaos of finals prep?
For me, it's dancing. What I do is if I'm studying for like 45 minutes, then I just take a pause. I'd play a song, dance in my room, and I'd continue. When I'm at library, I can't really do that.
You can, but
So then I just plug on the headphones and watch a dance video or something like that, because I try to simulate. Probably I think I should buy those AI,
virtual reality glasses. Yeah. Augmented reality or whatever, yeah.
But yeah, dancing really helps, music and dance to unwind. So I keep doing that, like 40-50 minutes studying, proper focus, and then 5-10 minutes of break.
Yeah, going along with that, with movement, I think one of the best things for me is taking a short walk and getting outside for fresh air and sunlight, especially because the sun sets so early. Just getting outside and like, even if it's a 5-minute walk, it helps to like just get that fresh air and be like kind of like rejuvenated from the sunlight in my face.
Because thinking about it, I started doing like right before my final, instead of like people like to cram like last minute, instead I started going to the gym and going on like a walk right before, like a fast-paced walk, just to try to like get all the nerves out. And I honestly think that's such a better studying strategy than cramming right before the exam, because instead of focusing on like, oh my God, I'm not going to remember this, I'm going to forget this, like I would just go on that walk right before and just all the like nerves, all the wiggles, just get them all out walking. I think that I honestly think it ends up working out better.
I love the fact that all three of you had movement involved, because when you think about studying for finals, movement is not what comes to mind. You think about sitting at a desk, sitting in a room on a chair with a book or a laptop or something like that, and you're stationary and you're studying. But I love that you incorporate something different in different ways into that helps you center yourself and get rejuvenated, whatever you want to call it. The other thing that I wanted to ask you about is, because I'm not sure which one put in their prep work, but you talked about how important personal hygiene is to feeling good about yourself. That along with sleep, you have, feeling run down, take a shower kind of thing, eat something that makes you feel good, your eating habits, your hygiene like that. How important is that for you to maintain through that week and to be intentional in that week prepping for finals?
So shower is really important. I think I've seen what happens with a lot of people I know is that they get up and they right away get to the table and start studying. But for me, it is important to start my day, follow that routine that I follow almost every now and then. Get up, have a breakfast, get a warm water shower, and then sit. So it just makes me feel like I'm in control of the day. And like the point Alex also mentioned, now the days are pretty short. So for people like me who have come from equatorial regions where, the days never get this short, it's like, I just have like 4 or 5 hours of day studying left. So I need to really change my entire schedule, become a morning lark, start over early, because as soon as the sun sets, I can feel that the energy is draining away. Even if I've not done much of an activity, but by 7, 8 p.m., my body will feel that it's night and it wants to sleep. So there are some or the other adjustments that I need to keep doing. I need to start early. And if I need to start really early, I need to have a shower. Otherwise, I'll get up and I'll again go off to sleep.
Yeah, I think about long term for me. Like sometimes I remind myself that finals aren't the end of the world. Like they're not going to end your life. They're not going to end your collegiate career. Like it's not going to be the end of the world if you maybe don't do as well on one final. But if you sacrifice all of your meals, all of your sleep, like your hygiene for like a week, like that's pretty significant on yourself, like your well-being. So I personally, I try not to like let any of that slip. I also still live in the dorms because I know like I like the convenience of having the meals made for me. I think a lot of people sometimes give themselves a hard time about like going out to eat, but sometimes like during finals week, like maybe you don't have the time to cook, meal prep. And just, it's better to eat something than rather eat nothing at all.
Yeah, I think it's super important too, because I feel like finals is right when people are getting sick or starting to get sick. So it's really hard when you are trying to study and get a good grade or get the grade you want and you are starting to get sick, and sometimes it's not even your fault. You can get sick if you're super healthy just by simply being on campus. So I think that's another big thing too. That's like you shouldn't not like lack in that area because it could really not be good in the end.
I really appreciate what Malik said about understanding that when it starts to get dark, how you feel. The last thing I want to ask you about is, you all talked about the idea of being kind to yourself. Madison, you talked about it, finals aren't the end of the world. Be kind to yourself no matter where you're at, take care of yourself. But you each talked about, the idea of knowing how you feel and feeling burnout and recognizing what that burnout means for you. Malik, you kind of touched on a little bit with the daylight kinds of things, but is there anything that you've experienced in your own, if you're comfortable sharing, but you don't have to, but if you're comfortable sharing what you've experienced that that, this is when I'm starting to feel a little overwhelmed. This is what I'm starting to feel when I'm a little burnout. What does that mean for you?
Actually, last year around UIUC, which is the engineering open house, which is a pretty big event for engineers, I got pretty burnt out and stressed. I think a lot of it had to do with like over spring break, I went back and worked instead of actually taking a break. So when I came back, like I just felt pretty overwhelmed. And for me, I felt very like unmotivated to do the things that I love doing beforehand. Like it wasn't any of the things nothing about it had changed. It was just more about my mindset. And that's how I knew I was getting burnt out, was because it was all things that I loved to do. And I would just like felt so like unhappy and didn't want to do them. And that's when I was like, okay, this is not like, okay, like I need to change something to where I'm not continuously like feeling like this. And that's where I think a lot of people, once they start feeling that, like maybe reaching out to your friends, like that's something that I felt really helped me to like, get back on track, was like being around my friends, like pulling myself out of like those anxious states. I feel like that helped me, especially like get out of that slump.
The biggest thing, I'm very fortunate because I haven't let myself get burnout, because I know my freshman year, I got COVID. The day before we were supposed to leave home on campus. So I had to stay on campus alone in a hotel because all the dorms were shutting down and everything for 14 days. And all I did was study. At that time, I was still a biology major, and I'm not now, probably because I wasn't good at it. But, and all I did was study. And I feel like I got so burnt out because I had nothing else to do besides study. I couldn't even leave the room. And since then, I've been so like important to plan and make sure that I will never be like that again. So I haven't had any like recent experiences, but that with time was just.
That's exactly what I'm asking about, because you've recognized that. You understand that. And now you're like, okay, I'm not doing that. Yeah. I know this is what happens. And that's really what the question is recognizing in yourself. And Madison, you talked about it. And Malik, you already talked about it with a little bit with the light, that you understand that this is how this affects me. And so these are the precautions I'm going to take so I don't run into this situation again. Is there anything else that, like, especially studying wise, is there anything that you were like, oh, I'm feeling that little bit of the dread or the burnout? coming on?
Yeah. So I don't want to make it a more of a gender thing, but I think a lot of men are conditioned not to acknowledge the burnout. They're more dismissive of the burnout. And something like that happened to me too, even though I'm aware about these conditioning and I keep fighting it, but then sometimes I am a victim of it as well. So I had my midterms for financial economics, and what I did is I prepared so well, and I was like so dismissive about the rest and so many other things because I wanted to perform really well on that. And come the exams, at the exam hour, the burnout struck me. I went blank. I couldn't remember anything. In fact, I mean, despite the fact that I've actually studied and written and did so well, I was very confident getting into the examination. At the examination, my brain had a shutdown. So that was more like a wake-up call to me that, no, what are you doing? Why are you like going against your own self? You understand these things. You don't have to follow this pattern. So something like this is what I think happens with a lot of people, and maybe a lot of men as well, because of this conditioning that you never get the burnout. You need to like, you're always at the energy levels are always high. You need to do it. Getting tired or crying and all these things are pretty much for the weak people. I think all these things goes subconsciously or unconsciously for a lot of people. And if you look at the culture that we are having, a lot of people are coming from different backgrounds where these things have been put in their brain since a childhood. So they won't even acknowledge that they're feeling like that. But this is very important to acknowledge that you need rest. And sometimes the burnout is not going to come by you feeling powerless or you feeling that you're not performing well. Sometimes that burnout will be there even though you're performing really well and you're at the alert stage. But your body knows. So your body will crash at some or the other point. And if it crashes during the exam, it's going to like hurt you real bad.
You brought up the point that that there are a lot of people that don't acknowledge it. That's one of the curses of being at a really good competitive university, is that there's a consistent feeling among students that I'm the only one. I'm the only one struggling. I'm the only one. Everybody else is easy. They're studying. They're doing great. And they're getting it really fast. And I'm having to work really hard. And everybody's working hard. Everybody's feeling that pressure. Everybody's feeling that intensity. And so you all talked about, you all mentioned reaching out. I'm going to take a moment just to, if you're listening, reach out, not just to friends, but we have units here on campus, here at McKinley, the counseling center, your advisors. There's a lot of resources here to reach out if you're feeling those sensations of being overwhelmed, or just not sure how to push through or how to move forward or whatever it may be. Reach out, because we work on this campus because we care about students. I like being here because I love being a part of a student experience. I love being a part of student affairs and able to assist students in wherever they're at. And so if you're hearing this and you're feeling any of those things, any of those negative things are starting to creep in, reach out, because you got fellow students, you've got staff, you've got units here that we want to help. We want to help you succeed. And while you're on your own personal journey, we want to walk with you in that. So I feel like I could talk to you guys for like hours, but unfortunately our time is up. But I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate all of you coming in and sharing your personal experience and your personal perspective, because I think it's really relatable to a lot of people. And so I just want to really say thank you. I appreciate you coming in.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Finals week is a main focus of so many semesters, and every student, no matter what school you're in, high school, college, whatever, we'll talk about finals week. We'll talk about the pressures of it. We'll talk about the ways they navigate it, the pros and cons, the good and bad, all that sort of thing. But there are options here to perform at your highest. And a lot of that is just being self-aware, understanding what you need, what your body needs, what your mind needs, making sure you have set yourself up to prepare in a way that works for you, that is individual to you, that you've tried some things. If it doesn't work, change, be flexible. That's okay. But the key is to be aware and be intentional in that. If you have any questions on any of the things that we've talked about, if you want to talk to somebody or know how to reach out to somebody, please contact us here, Healthy Illini. Contact us at McKinley. We will happily put you in contact with whoever it needs to be on campus for whatever situation you're facing. We want you to succeed. We want to be a part of that. We want to celebrate that success when it comes as you prepare for finals. And ultimately, just be kind to yourself and take care of yourself. But please reach out. Let us know what you're thinking. If you want to continue the conversation, if you have questions, if you have follow-up, anything, feel free to reach out. We'd love to talk with you. But thank you for joining us today. You are on a personal journey no matter where you are in it. You are important and you matter. Your health and wellness are important and matter. And we are here to keep you well to excel. So go have a great week, Illini. Let us know how you're doing, and we'll catch you next time on Healthy Illini.